All right, what up, people, and welcome to the book club with one mother, three sisters, and a whole lot of hot takes. This is the family plot. I'm Angel, the host and heart of the crew. Unfortunately, my baby sister Cam cannot join us this evening, but we still have our mama Lisa, the matriarch and occasional voice of reason, and we are joined by Glenna. Oh, I'm sorry. Say hey, mom.
Hey, Mom.
Yes, and we are joined by Glenna, my sister-in-law, with the insightful takes. Say, hey, girl.
Hi, girl.
So again, this is how we get down. We discuss a book of our choosing each month, and every week I share a brief summary of the chapters we've read, and then we pick a discussion question to answer. We'll also share our first impressions, predictions, and whatever else comes up along the way. So if that interests you, pull up a chair, pour some tea, and get cozy as we get into week 3 of this month's book right here on the Family Plot, where every chapter digs deep. All right, ladies, now that we done got that out the way, getting into week 3's summary. You know, y'all can see the screen. Okay. So, week 3, we are covering chapters 16 through 23. And basically, summary wise, I put it down into 9 main points of what had happened. So, what had happened was number 1, after meeting Cersei, the first witch, and Blade, the vampire, Emilia and Wrath suspect Vesta is alive and possibly half demon, half werewolf. Number 2, Emilia discovers she discovers a spell revealing Wrath has magically dulled his emotions to prevent falling in love and breaking his curse. Number 3, seeking answers, Emilia joins Domenico and finds Vittoria at a false version of their childhood home. She learns they're trapped in these shifting isles, a multidimensional realm beneath the mortal world. Number 4, Vittoria admits she didn't kill Vesta, and she helps Emilia break her spell lock by ripping out her human heart, restoring her to full goddess power. Number 5, reunited with Wrath, Emilia learns about the Well of Memory, which may hold the key to breaking Wrath's curse. Number 6, at House Greed, witches attack. Emilia unleashes her fury to protect Wrath, ending the battle single-handedly. 7, inside the well, Emilia learns the truth about Lucia, Cersei's daughter, who loved Pride and became Claudia, Emilia's former friend in Palermo. Number 8, Cersei reveals that Claudia's willingly given blood can activate the Blade of Rumination, the only weapon that can break Wrath's curse. And number 9, Emilia and Wrath realize they have just 1 day left before the curse becomes eternal. And despite heartbreak and urgency, their love grows stronger as they prepare to risk everything for freedom. Well, that being said, it is time for first impressions. Um, who want to go first? Mom, go for it.
I just want to say I was a little aggravated at this section of the book. Love the reading and the detail as always. But I'm mad at the human. Well, they ain't human. But how the first witch gonna be mad at Pride because he ain't gonna cast out his brother's lover? That ain't got crap to do with Pride. And you gonna curse him because you mad because she got a boyfriend that ain't faithful. That is not Pride's fault. You need to deal with the demon that your daughter dealing with. But you over
mean
here
Wrath?
cursing. Yeah, that's what I meant. Wrath. She over here cursing Wrath because Pride is a butthole. That's just not. Come on now. That's like me telling because I don't like your boyfriend. I'm finna curse your sister. What kind of bull crap is that? So literally, I mean, I was glad some stuff got answered, but I was literally totally perturbed at the first witch throughout this whole ordeal. And with that, I yield.
Thank you for that, Mother. Yes, I was also equally confused as to the logic behind her cursing Wrath. Um, I believe Glenna will be able to clarify that for us and also give her first impression shortly. No, she's not going to clarify. Never mind then. So I will give my first impressions. I ain't really got too much to say, except that cannellini recipe on page 227, I'm sorry, 223, that sounds like something I'm about to make as a snack. And it probably was the most insignificant thing in this whole stretch of chapters, but I just feel like y'all sitting in the kitchen talking. I'm really interested in what you're making, ma'am, because this, like, it actually sounded really good. You got some cannellini beans, some lemon juice, some herbs, some olive oil, some red pepper flakes. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good dip. I'm gonna have to do something with that. It's plant-based, gluten-free, it's just that's what drew my attention in, because damn, all this other stuff with the werewolves and the witches and let me get that dip recipe. Apart from that, what else did I have on here? I was very shocked and annoyed to find that Claudia, who was Emilia's friend in the first two books, has been the first witch's daughter this entire time. She just don't have no memory of who she was or any of that, and just the circumstances surrounding her with that. I'm just like, really? We took 3 books to get here. Okay. All right. Well, there's that. We made it. And that's all I got. With that, I yield. Glenda, are you able to share your first impressions, ma'am?
Yeah. No, I completely agree with Lisa's statement on why the F is it Wrath's fault that Pride is an asshole. And why? Because Pride got, like, I'm assuming, no punishment whatsoever, but Wrath, because he didn't step in and screw over his brother, gets all the punishment. Make it make sense, please. Okay. But yeah, overall, the Claudia thing was a left field that I went, oh, okay. I think I was a little more pissed off at the fact that they've been in hell the entire time and not actually in Sicily. I mean, it does make sense a lot, because they kind of talk a little isolationist, so-and-so disappears to swear, but they don't actually end up anywhere. So I guess it kind of in an abstract way makes sense, but it was one of those things that made me go, seriously, really? I really liked the well. The memories through the well were pretty cool. I really enjoyed that whole segment. And yeah, the timeline of they have a single day left. Seriously, we still have like 8 or 9 chapters left. And that's going to be 24 hours. Seriously? And why couldn't, he have said something a little earlier about the timeline? Because then, he's been there for what? A month or so? He couldn't have dropped this nugget of information 3 weeks ago? That's where I was with that when we got to that part, because I was expecting it to be short. I was expecting them to have the 6 days. I wasn't expecting the 6 years. I wasn't expecting the 6 months. I was expecting the 6 days. I wasn't expecting 24 hours. But yeah, that's pretty much where I sat with it. And with that, I yield.
Yes, ladies, I agree. This whole thing is just so it's so messed up. You know how you get an assignment to write a paper in college and you have a certain word quota you got to meet? It feels like the author is just trying to trying to fill up the space and make I got so many pages I got to write to meet my contractual agreements. So I gotta drag this story out. One thing we did not mention, or I did not mention in the summary, is that one of the memories Amelia encounters in the well is that of a half demon, half werewolf pup. And apparently Greed has made a bargain with the father of that pup to take possession of it in exchange for payment of that father's debts. I think us as the reader are supposed to assume that this is Vesta's origin story, but we don't know how this thing gonna go, so we just gonna roll with it. That said, lady, y'all ready to get into these discussion questions? All right, let's get it. I don't have fancy titles this week. I just got Welcome Back, Fury, Past to Present, Do You Remember, and Fate and Free Will. Glenna, why don't you pick your first one?
Welcome Back, Fury.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Emilia's transformation after regaining her heart brings both empowerment and fear. How does this shift challenge her identity and relationships with others?
In my drawer. Okay, this is probably the least climax-inducing transformation I've seen. She kind of went from one second to the other. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, she didn't have, because he'd been training her to control her emotions for the last several weeks. She kind of went, okay, yeah, I'm pissed, but okay. And yeah, she did overreact and burn some things down, but she had every right. It's totally valid. But yeah, I don't think it's changed her identity. I think that the humanity and the compassion that she learned while having a human heart and a human quote unquote soul, allowed her to adapt into a more well-rounded being rather than being just a furnace of fury and vengeance that apparently she was. So I think the changes that were starting when she first fell in love with Wrath before she was soul locked or spell locked have further changed with her humanity, and then losing that humanity and going back to being a goddess. She, is retaining some of that mortal coil a little bit. So I think the compassion and the love and the empathy that she gained from being quote unquote human for that period of time just made her a more even character, made her an even person. And I think that regardless of what she encounters, because if she admitted herself during the middle of that battle that if this had been her originally, she would have scorched the entire earth, the demons and witches, and it wouldn't have mattered. She would have just destroyed it all. She actually felt guilty for some of her actions as she was conducting them, and she didn't want to scare people because that's not the life she wants now. So I think as she goes forward, she's going to develop those thoughts and probably maintain at least the compassion, if not the outright, sympathy. Because you can have compassion without having sympathy, and you can have empathy without having sympathy. You can understand where somebody's coming from and then tell them to jump off a cliff. So just because you tell them to jump off said cliff doesn't mean you don't understand why they did the thing in the first place. And that's all empathy is. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have for that one. Because I think her change is for the better. But I think that, instead of Victoria becoming the goddess of death, and she basically is saying screw you to anything she learned as she was spell locked as a human. Emilia, while still angry about the spell locked and the loss of her goddesshood, is taking the lessons that she learned as a human and applying them to her current day. So she's taking her experience and using it constructively, where Victoria is abjectly rejecting the whole thing. And with that, I yield.
Good stuff, Glenna. Good stuff. And yes, we saw her having a a very real reaction when she had her goddess powers restored, just in how Fauna looked at her. Fauna looked at her not as a friend, but as someone to be feared. And she felt that fear, both literally and physically, as now she has these heightened senses so that she can feel other people's emotions. So, yeah, I can see why now she's just like, I don't want people to be scared of me. I actually like people. I actually want joy in my life. And that's something she's been making very clear as well. She wants to have connection and relationships, whereas probably previous Goddess of Fury is just like, burn it all down, burn it all to hell. Good stuff. Can you clarify though, Glenna, because you mentioned empathy versus sympathy, for people who do not know the difference, how would you use your example of jumping off a cliff to explain sympathy? Oh, this is important. She had to go into a private room.
No, it more along the lines of there's a patient there. Well, in sympathy, you identify the person's emotions and you agree with their emotions and you take on their emotions when you're sympathetic to their situation. The sympathetic situation, you understand what their emotions are, you understand what that emotion is making them feel, but you don't exhibit that feeling yourself. So while sympathy, you agree, you share, and you would probably go over said cliff with them. Empathy, okay, I get where you're coming from. I understand how that makes you feel. But right there.
Love that. So, in for example, oh no, you're sad. I understand you're sad. Now I'm also sad. Is sympathy.
Sympathy.
But oh no, you're sad.
Oh no, you're sad.
That's
okay.
Unfortunate. I understand. I am not sad.
Yes.
Got it.
Or I am not necessarily as sad as you.
Right. You don't.
You can be empathetic. It's a spectrum. So you can be empathetic with absolutely no identification of the emotion, or you can be empathetic and have some identification of the emotion. Okay. Oh yeah, I'm a little sad for your situation. I'm sorry you feel that way. I feel kind of sad for the situation, but you're not in the hole with them.
Got it. Love it. Thank you for that clarification. Mom, any questions or anything to add before we move to the next question? No? Okay. Well, that said, go ahead and pick your question for the evening, ma'am.
Do you remember?
How did I know?
29th of December. Oh, I was offbeat on that one. Sorry. But go ahead. So do we remember?
Do you remember? The concept of memory being altered, erased, or restored plays a major role in these chapters. What message do you think the author is sending about the power and burden of remembering?
How critical it is. I think when you say about the power, the message is about the power of and burden of the burden. Well, we know with dealing with our loved ones who have aged, the burden of remembering becomes extremely frustrating because it causes them to feel, well, in so many terms, many older folks feel unimportant or not tuned in because they can't remember critical things. Not being able to connect. Those things occur when you have loss of memory, especially of vitally important scenarios, and it's painful. It's emotionally painful. There was a time where due to some head trauma. One of our immediate relatives was not able to remember a very significant event in her life. And it tore me apart because for years she had talked about how significant that event would be for her. And then to lose it within a matter of minutes was crushing because I personally sacrificed a lot to make that event happen. And for her to not have any recollection of it, it hurt me. So because I knew how important it was to that person. So I think in that is painful. That was one of the things that Amelia was struggling with because she did not know who she was before until that spell lock was broken. She realized after her sister telling her bits and pieces of it, and she's like, just tell me already. What am I supposed to know? Because that's frustrating when you don't have knowledge or recollection of what it is you're supposed to know and be functional with. Our memory plays a great part in our ability to function, not just in our everyday life, but in our work life. It's things we learn throughout high school, throughout college, or tools that we use to carry us to the next station in life. So if you can't remember basic math, how you gonna count money? Or how you gonna be an accountant? If you can't remember processes and orders or statistics, how are you going to be effective in your job if you're a statistician? So those are very critical. Memory is a very critical tool for your next phase of life. And when you start to lose it, a lot of times the reason our elderly start to shut down is because they don't feel value or they don't feel worth anymore because they can't remember anything. So that in itself is the burden. And the message is, and I think in this particular sense, in this particular story, we saw the frustration in Amelia. She was tired of going rounds and rounds with her sister and was like, God dang it, just tell me already. And, she was trying to figure out why Wrath wouldn't tell her. And, and he has his reasons, and some of them are extremely valid. But it made it that much more frustrating for her. Understanding, and then once she did get her memory, it was like the heavens had opened. Not well, in this case, the hells had opened. But it took on a different perspective for her because now I know who I was, but because of who I was transformed into being, I take it on in a different way. She'd been walking around with a mortal heart, and that changed some dynamics for her. So even though she fully remembered who she was now able, with the help of Wrath and that human heart she had, to have a different perspective on how to be the goddess of fury. And so, I mean, in that particular case, I'm glad she did get her memory back, but I'm glad she got her memory back with a different set of morality that heart had given her. So yeah, I really think the author is trying to get us to understand that it can be an extreme burden. But in terms of power, it also allows people to have power over you, in a sense, when you don't have memory. People can manipulate you when you cannot remember. And that is where the part of that burden comes from. The fact that she couldn't remember or had knowledge of who she was starting out. Nona did all kinds of stuff to them. Changed the whole dynamic for them. They was in the shifting aisles for all their life and had no clue. But again, that's because she had the power of them not knowing and not remembering who they were. So yeah, it is a burden not to be able to remember, but the burden comes from these other entities where people can utilize your lack of memory over you and recognize that it does cause some self-defeating feelings within you. And with that, I yield.
Good stuff, Mom. And yeah, I agree. It's memory is, at least in this book, it's both a gift and a curse. Because on one hand, it shapes who Amelia is as the goddess of fury, but it also can trap you in past pain like it does with Claudia, aka Lucia. Man. It's just two sides of a very tricky coin.
And let's keep in mind, Claudia at this point is still trapped. She don't even know
Still
who
to
she
this day.
is. Yeah, she has been manipulated even longer than Amelia and Victoria. So yeah, my feelings for her is even greater at this point.
My God, today. All right. I will choose, what do we got left? I think I'll do past to present. Okay. Past to present, Domenico tells Amelia that being present is the key to happiness. How does this advice contrast with Amelia's obsession with uncovering the past? Okay. So before I get to answering, he said something in one of these chapters that was so good I had to highlight it because I'm like, yeah, I need to carry them words forward with me for the rest of my day. Okay. If you have your Bibles, turn with me to page 245, the third paragraph down, the third sentence, and it states, and I will read. Reliving what could have been but never will be is pointless. It'll only hold you back from what you are. One of the hardest things anyone can do is live in the here and now, not worry about the future, not rehash the past. Be present. That's the secret to changing your future, to finding true happiness. I said, okay, Domenico, Deacon Domenico, coming here with the good word. Come on, sir. So say all that to say, if I'm gonna answer this question, how does his advice contrast the music session covering the past? So his advice to live in the present highlights her struggle, right? He's found peace by accepting that he's a werewolf, but she's driven by a need to uncover every secret from the past. Who did this? Who did that? Who spelled this? Da 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 da. And his perspective represents, just the importance of letting go and finding contentment in the right now. But Amelia's obsession shows how clinging to the past can keep her trapped in these same little cycles of pain and vengeance. This little contrast, I think, emphasizes her internal conflict between actually healing, like for real, and just being in control. So to me, it suggests that maybe true happiness, as Domenico said, or true peace can only come when you find some kind of balance between the two of those. And with that, I yield. Yes. Yes, mother.
Okay, question.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of her drive, even after understanding who she was as a goddess, is why she still, part of that need for uncovering the past, I think, is because she realized, even though, she was getting tidbits of she was somebody else and that she was the goddess of fury. But I think understanding she had a whole nother house that she was over, but she was in love with Wrath. I think that is one of the reasons she's struggling with staying right here in the present, because she's trying to figure out and navigate whether or not she can be part of two houses. And nobody's opened up and said plainly, yes, you can be Rat's wife and part of this house and still be ruler over this house with your sister. And that's the thing, because she recognizes now, knowing who she is, now I have to choose, unless she can find some reason why she doesn't have to. And that's part of the reason that her drive, to me, this is in my belief, her drive to continue to to unveil some of the things that had happened in the past, was to see if she even could have that objectivity to be part of both houses. And with that, I yield.
Okay. Okay. I hear that. Well, ladies, since Cam is not here this evening, we can each answer this last and final question: fate and free will. With only one day left to break Raph's curse, do you think destiny has been guiding Amelia, or has she been fighting against it all along? Mother, why don't you take a stab at that while Glenna runs around in the background taking care of the patients and the peoples?
Well, has she been fighting against it? Do I think destiny has been guiding her, or has she been fighting against it? That's kind of a two-way street right there, because I can't say for certain destiny has been guiding her to it, but I can't say it wasn't. There are certain elements of things that have transpired that pushed her closer to who she is. But then there's also, I think, in her becoming who she is, realizing who she is, that has been opening the door for her as well. So do I think she's been fighting it? Not completely. No, she really does want to have an idea of who she is. And then she really had fallen. She had fallen for wrath even before she went to hell. Let's just call it what it is. The loins was already hot and bothered before she got down there. It just so happens, once she got down there, she realized why she was hot and bothered, because she was already hot and bothered from another life. She was already hot and bothered. So I ain't gonna say so much fate, but then I think her sisters playing around with tidbits of information just kind of drew her even that much closer to him, because at the point of her being down there, he was the only one she could trust. So you couple the fact that I'm already hot and bothered for this man. He can touch, rub, sniff, and move, and make my hairs on the back of my kneecaps twindle. Okay. And this is before I even get some of the oocha coocha wah ya ya. So I'm just saying, by the time he unleashed that self, she's like, I already trust him, because he the only somebody down here I can trust. He's been teaching her how to manage her emotions, how to deal with her abilities. He's been helping her how to guard against other sins. So he's in essence helping her find her way. He became the only person she could trust. So that emotion, that physical attraction and emotion toward him just grew. And that was part of the what you call the fate stuff happening. But again, I don't think that would not have taken place had her sister been as manipulative as she was, trying to get her to just allow her true being to come forth. So it kind of played a hand in it. I don't think she necessarily was fighting against it, more so just trying to truly understand where I fit in. This is who I was. This is who I am. Now, how do I fit in? Because even before she let her sister pull that heart out, she was gripping with the fact of not wanting to lose the mortal side of her, the compassion and the empathy and all that. She didn't want to lose that aspect of her, because the concept of fury means I'm mad, I'm about to rip up something, And she just didn't want her whole life to be consumed by that. But in the same vein, she was like, that's who I was, but this is who I am. And she was trying to connect the two entities into who she currently is. So I don't think she's been fighting against who she's coming, but she wants to incorporate who she was to with who she currently is. And I think that her battle right now is, and her only true battle to me is, if I join House Wrath, am I losing my freedom to be Fury in my own house that I rule over with my sister? That's her struggle, and that's just it. And so it's a matter of, yeah, she has free will to choose, but that's the struggle right now. And it's not a matter of her fate guiding her to it. It's just a matter at this point of her deciding which road she's going to travel. And with that, I yield.
Girl, let me first of all say I have been cracking up over here, not just at your Uchi Gucci Wally Wally commentary, but at Glenna's reaction in the back. Audience, you cannot see, but this woman stepped out the aisle and just cocked her head like listening to my mother. Yes. My Lord today. My Lord today.
Well, you got to remember, y'all banned me from using certain words regarding sexual body parts. So I try to be
good. It's for your own good. And this is what we get. Messing around with you. That's all right. So my take on this particular question, I mean, I think it's pretty clear the author wants us to consider Emilia's journey, not just the happenings of each book, of each witch, of each demon, like not in just like a chronological thing, but just in her journey overall. And it feels like destiny tends to weave itself through every part of the story, from her lost memories to her connection with Wrath. But she's been constantly resistant to the idea of being controlled by fate, right? So there's like this blurring of the lines between your destiny and your choice. And I think even though certain things might have been preordained, Emilia, at least the journey we are seeing, is that her strength lies in how she chooses to face these types of events. So I think her determination proves she's just not willing to be a pawn in fate's plan or the Star Witch's plan or nobody's plan. Her thing is like, yeah, I'm Goddess of Fury. I'm gonna shape my own destiny by my own free will, which is pretty on brand for a goddess of any type, I think. So with that, I yield. Glenna, what about you? What say ye?
I kind of agree with what you guys have been saying. I think that, that she's going to create her own path in this. And I think that it's going to be a different path than what the others are going to expect of her. Because, they have, in this case, the unfortunateness of having known her before, in the sense that their judgment of her is characterized by how she was before she was spell locked. So there's already that judgment of what they know from the past. I think that's part of the reason why Greed's household responded the way they did, is because they saw her, well, even though she was using it measuredly for the most part, they saw a spark of what was seen before versus where she actually intends to take her new life memories and abilities. So I don't necessarily think that fate is necessarily playing a role. I mean, you could argue that in the sense that, oh, they're showing up right when they have exactly the right amount of time in order to deal with their situation. But that's more a ploy by the author than it is an act of fate. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Because they've only got 24 hours essentially, but I have faith that they'll figure something out. Either they'll be able to break the curse regardless of whether it's enacted in because that was the one thing they kind of didn't say, is that she said in the curse that if it doesn't happen by this, the curse is then permanent. Well, if the blade can break any curse, why does it matter if it's permanent if the blade can break that too? And that's something that I don't know if that's going to be an absolute no or if that's going to be a possibility, because logistics wise, they've got a lot to do in 24 hours.
It's going to be a long 24 hours.
I don't think it might be fictionally possible, but I don't think it's literally possible. Even if they had all of the answers and they were following a checklist of things to do, I don't think anybody could realistically get the stuff that they've got to get done in 24 hours, and then to stop for a tryst 5 minutes before she needs to leave.
Right? I'm like, you know what? Y'all the most rabid sex having. Sorry, it got on my nerves. I'm like, so y'all ain't got no other priorities than this. Great. Well, there's that. I mean,
That
yeah.
Ucha Kucha, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even Harry Potter and his friends had 2 whole books to find some Horcruxes, 2 whole movies, and it was 3 of them. I don't know how they're gonna do this in 24 hours. God be with them. God be with them. Are we yielding the floor, Glenn?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so slightly related notes. I was talking about this cannellini bean recipe earlier, but if you have your Bibles, turn with me to page 222, because I'm making this at some point. I am. It's mashed cannellini beans, and then she jumped down to, she zested a lemon, minced some garlic, and squeezed the lemon into quarters and over the mashed beans. And then on page 223, that's where she says she had added some olive oil.
Let me check. I might actually have a recipe for this.
Okay. 2 tablespoons warm water, salt, fresh ground pepper, and red pepper flakes. I said that sounds like a delicious dip. I might put that on some toast. Yep. That's what I think we might have to do. While Glenna searches for her recipe, any well, we always got questions, but any further questions, conclusions, predictions for this week's readings? Yes, Mother, go ahead.
I predict for this last segment of the book that she gonna summon Claudia, prick her finger, and break this curse. So that she can get on and go and have her husband and her house and be happy in her world. That's my prediction. Now, why is it gonna take 8 chapters to get there? That's neither here nor there. It's gonna be a lot of flowery, crazy, crooked, and backward stuff going on. I'm pretty sure somewhere in there's going to be some type of attack or fight or something against the first witch, Cersei, because she caused all this ruckus. I think they're going to figure out that Vesta was not, and I predict that because they said Vesta wasn't killed, she was eaten, and then they said no, she wasn't, and they think she's still alive. But somebody died. I really wanted to say it was Domenico's father after reading all the stuff, because his statement when Amelia was asking about him was he died, and she was like, I'm sorry, what happened? He was like, just say it's pack business.
You're right.
And that I thought about his father, that he may have gotten sacrificed to allow Vesta to go free or go back to her people, and somehow that memory of that little pup, that half werewolf, half whatever, is gonna come back, and there'll be a little more explanation around that and where Vesta actually is, because she was given as payment, which I thought was weird, but again, I think that will come to play in these last chapters, as well as there being something against Cersei, because I can't see all this hell interrupted because you didn't bat mad at your girlfriend's choice in a boyfriend, and you want to curse his brother. If that ain't some, I can't say that because I ain't trying to be offensive, but if that ain't some ish, that's the word. Ish. That ain't the word I want to use, but it's some ish. And yeah, so I think something's gonna come about with Cersei and this whole thing. We're gonna find out where this werewolf half person is. And I think at some point she just gonna go and say the hell with it and summon Claudia, prick that chick's finger to get her blood. Well, she gotta find the blade first, but I'm sure if that don't do it, there's gonna be another way around it. She had to do a crash course and waking her up to remember who the hell she is. Unlike this long drawn out thing she had to go through with her sister. I think it's gonna be a crash course in wake your snapper up and get the spell lock off her brother, because he shouldn't have had it in the first place, kind of situation. So, and that's my predictions for the rest of this book.
Well, thank you, Mother, for those colorful assessments. I'm in the same boat as you when it comes to predictions. She definitely got to go find the blade. She got to go approach Claudia. We got to figure out who died in Vesta's place. We got to figure out what is Cersei gonna stay frozen. It's a lot going on, for lack of a better phrase. But yeah, there's a lot to be wrapped up before the end of this book. I'm not certain if it's gonna be a happy ending, but I can definitely feel some hard decisions are about to have to be made very soon, if in these 24 hours, if not longer than that. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. Glenna, are you? She is not. Hang on. We're hanging on. We'll keep holding on. We'll
keep holding on.
Gotta keep holding on.
Y'all are crazy. Okay. The only thing that I have different, or not necessarily different, but in addition to what you guys have already said, because I kind of agree as far as predictions are along the same paths as the both of you, is that I think that who's going to take down the first witch is going to be Claudia and Pride together.
Oh, that would be so sweet after all this time. Always.
Because I think either that or it's going to be just Claudia. One of the two.
So you thinking she's going to get her memory fully restored and then be like, Mama, what the heck you did?
Yes.
But why? Because she asked her mama to make her forget.
Because I think that once she sits down and actually learns the extent with which her mom went to, meaning bringing in the two goddesses, having them try to pit the two brothers against each other, I think that's going to infuriate her.
Oh,
I think it's one thing for her to have walked away. I think it's another thing for her mother to have sabotaged them.
wow. Yeah, you're right. You are right. Somebody
Good
got
point.
Lucy got some planning to do, or Cersei got some planning to do. Yeah, yeah. I like it. I like that theory.
That's a good one.
Anything else, ladies, before I give closing remarks? All right. Well, it's wild how much Amelia's world has changed in these last few little chapters. But she's finally embracing her power as the goddess of fury. And now she got to face what it really means for her relationships and her future. You can tell the next part is about to push her to make some heartbreaking choices. So tune in next week as we get into the finale of this here book, Kingdom of the Feared by Carrie Maniscalco, right here on the Family Plot, where every chapter digs deep. And we will also have a video of the spinning of the wheel to see what we're going to read next month. So till next week, see y'all later. Bye.